Chapter 24. Shadows and Revelations. The crisp air of the evening was filled with an undercurrent of suspense as Emma positioned herself discreetly near the location of the dead drop. She had been receiving information from her mysterious source, Deep Sky, for months now. The breadcrumbs of information had led her to suspect that Deep Sky might be connected to Russian intelligence, a theory she was determined to confirm as her eyes scanned the area, seeking the subtle signs of the drop being made. The location, a nondescript park bench near a dimly lit street, was an ideal spot for such clandestine exchanges. Emma's heart raced with anticipation. Tonight, she would finally get a glimpse of the person feeding her the information that had been both a blessing and a burden. As minutes ticked by, a shadowy figure approached the bench. The person's movements were calculated and smooth, a trained stealth that didn't go unnoticed by Emma. She watched intently as the individual placed a small package underneath the bench, the classic dead drop technique. Once the figure moved away, Emma sprang into action, her steps quiet but quick as she followed the mysterious person. She kept a safe distance, blending into the sparse crowd to avoid drawing attention. Every instinct honed from her investigative journalism career was on high alert. However, the figure seemed to have a sixth sense for tailing, and it wasn't long before Emma realized she had lost sight of them. She quickened her pace, turning corners in an attempt to relocate her target, but they had vanished into the night. A sudden prickle of awareness crept up Emma's spine. She had the uneasy feeling of being watched. Slowing down, she tried to appear nonchalant, scanning her surroundings for any sign of the figure or other potential followers. Her heart pounded in her chest. It filled with frustration at losing the trail and growing anxiety about her current vulnerability. Turning into a less crowded street, Emma's sense of unease intensified. The quiet of the area was unsettling, the faint sounds of the city in the distance doing little to comfort her. She quickened her pace, her eyes darting to every shadow and every movement around her. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of movement. Someone was following her. The roles had reversed. The hunter had become the hunted. Adrenaline surged through her veins as she contemplated her next move. Emma ducked into a narrow alleyway, her mind racing. She needed a plan, a way to confront or evade her pursuer. The alley offered little in terms of escape routes, but it did provide a momentary cover. As footsteps approached, Emma readied herself for a confrontation. Her journalistic instincts told her this could be a pivotal moment, a chance to uncover more about Deep Sky and the web of intrigue she had found herself entangled in. In the dim light of the alley, Emma's heart pounded in her chest as the follower closed in. He was not Deep Sky, but a government agent, his intentions clear and deadly. The alley, once a path of escape, had become a trap. As the agent, a cold expression etched on his face, drew a dagger, its blade glinting ominously in the faint light. "I don't want to see you suffer," he said in a chillingly calm voice. "This will be quick. You know too much, and you've been making too many waves." Emma's mind raced, panic mingling with a surge of clarity. All the information Deep Sky had provided her, all the warnings about being cautious of those who might want to silence her, suddenly crystallized into a terrifying reality. Her journalistic pursuit of truth had painted a target on her back as the agent stepped closer, dagger in hand. Emma's survival instincts kicked in. She couldn't let her story end in a dark alley at the hands of a government assassin. Deep Sky's information, the corruption and secrets she had uncovered, needed to be exposed. With little room to maneuver and no weapon to defend herself, Emma looked around desperately for anything to use. Her eyes landed on a loose brick in the wall of the alley. Without hesitating, she lunged for it, grasping it firmly in her hand. The agent, surprised by her sudden movement, momentarily faltered in his advance. Seizing the opportunity, Emma swung the brick with all her might, striking the agent on the side of his head. The impact sent him reeling, the dagger clattering to the ground. Adrenaline coursing through her veins, Emma didn't pause. She kicked the dagger away and pushed past the dazed agent, sprinting towards the open street. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear. She needed to get to safety, to regroup and figure out her next move. As she emerged from the alley, the sounds of the city rushed back to her, a stark contrast to the silence of her near-fatal encounter. Her thoughts raced back to Deep Sky, the mysterious source who had now proven to be both an informant and a harbinger of danger. Emma's heart sank as she was suddenly shoved back into the alley by another government agent, the sense of fleeting freedom brutally snatched away. She stumbled, trying to regain her footing, her mind racing for a way out. The first agent, recovering from her earlier attack, picked up his dagger, a malicious glint in his eyes. "Okay, now I want you to suffer a little," he growled, rubbing the side of his head where the brick had struck. Trapped between the two agents, Emma frantically searched for an escape route, but the narrow alley offered no respite. Her situation seemed hopeless, the threat of imminent danger closing in from both sides. Suddenly, the agent blocking her exit stiffened, a look of surprise and confusion spreading across his face. He dropped his knife, his body going limp before crumpling to the ground, revealing the silhouette of a person standing behind him. "Deep Sky," Emma whispered, barely audible, as recognition dawned. The mysterious figure who had been feeding her information had just intervened in the most unexpected way. Without a moment's hesitation, the silhouette darted past Emma, lunging at the second agent. A violent struggle ensued, a blur of movement and muffled grunts, as Deep Sky engaged the agent in a desperate fight. Emma, still in shock, could hardly believe what was unfolding before her eyes. Deep Sky moved with a precision and skill that spoke of training and experience. The government agent, caught off guard by this sudden attack, fought back fiercely, but it was clear he was outmatched. In the midst of the struggle, Emma spotted her opportunity to act. She quickly scooped up the dropped knife from the ground, her hands trembling but resolute. As Deep Sky and the agent grappled, she approached cautiously, looking for the right moment to intervene. Then with a swift motion, she plunged the knife into the agent's side. He let out a gasp of pain, his attention momentarily diverted from Deep Sky. Seizing the advantage, Deep Sky delivered a final, incapacitating blow, and the agent collapsed to the ground, unconscious. The alley fell silent, save for the heavy breathing of Emma and her mysterious savior. She turned to Deep Sky, her mind filled with questions and a profound sense of gratitude. The figure before her remained shrouded in shadows, their identity still a mystery. "Thank you," Emma managed to say, her voice a mix of relief and awe. "You saved my life." Deep Sky nodded, a silent acknowledgement of her words. There was an air of urgency about them, a sense that their time was limited. "We need to leave now," Deep Sky said, their voice low and urgent. "They'll send more agents. We can't stay here." Without waiting for a response, Deep Sky led the way, quickly exiting the alley. Emma followed close behind, her mind racing with the implications of what had just happened. After the harrowing encounter in the alley, Emma and Deep Sky quickly made their way back to the dead drop location. The streets were eerily quiet, adding to the tension that hung heavily in the air. As they approached the park bench, Emma's eyes darted around, half expecting another ambush. But the area was deserted, almost as if the city itself was holding its breath. Deep Sky retrieved the small package from under the bench with swift, practiced movements. Emma watched, her mind still reeling from the night's events. The package, whatever its contents, was clearly of significant importance. Every instinct told her it was a key piece of the puzzle she had been trying to solve. As they moved through the city's shadowy corridors, Emma bombarded Deep Sky with questions. Who were they? Why were government agents after her? What was in the package? But Deep Sky's responses were terse and evasive. Not now. Later. Their destination was a nondescript building in a quiet part of the city. It looked abandoned, but as Deep Sky led her inside, Emma realized it was a meticulously prepared safe house and base of operation. The interior was sparse but functional, a haven from the chaos outside. Once inside and assured of their safety, Deep Sky finally turned to Emma, a sense of solemnity in their demeanor. "You have questions. We answer them now," Emma took a deep breath, the gravity of the situation settling in. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil of emotions inside her. Deep Sky removed his hood, revealing his face for the first time. Emma was taken aback. He was younger than she had expected, with keen eyes that spoke of intelligence and a hard-earned wisdom. "I'm an operative with ties to Russian intelligence, but my allegiance is to the truth, not any government," Deep Sky began. "The information I've been providing you is part of a larger effort to expose corruption and manipulation at the highest levels." Emma processed this revelation, her mind racing. "And the package? The agents who tried to kill me?" Deep Sky opened the package, revealing a stack of documents and a small data drive. "This contains evidence of widespread government surveillance and manipulation, including the orchestration of the voluntary departure program. Your life is in danger because you're getting too close to exposing a network of lies that spans across nations and centuries." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The implications were staggering. "What do we do now?" she asked, a sense of resolve building within her. "We expose them," Deep Sky replied, a fierce determination in his voice. "We bring the truth to light, no matter the cost." Emma, still trying to piece together the enormity of the situation, looked at Deep Sky with a mix of curiosity and incredulity. "How can someone so young have access to such critical and classified information?" she asked, her journalistic instincts kicking in. Deep Sky met her gaze, a hint of both pride and sadness in his eyes. "Because I am the secret son of the Russian President Mikhail Petrov," he revealed, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. "My existence has been kept hidden from the public to protect me from the Nexusars and other threats. My father knew that one day Earth would have to fight for its freedom. He believed that keeping me hidden, yet informed, was the best way to prepare for that fight." Emma absorbed this revelation, the pieces of the puzzle starting to fall into place. Deep Sky's access to such sensitive information, his understanding of global politics, and his commitment to exposing the truth all made sense now. Deep Sky continued, "The Nexusars are not just abducting people at random. There's a pattern, a sinister plan at play. Hundreds of thousands of Russians are being taken under the guise of preparing for war. But it's a facade, a cover for something far more nefarious." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The scale of the conspiracy was staggering. It wasn't just a matter of isolated incidents or sporadic abductions. It was a coordinated global operation. "We need to reveal this to the world," Deep Sky said, his voice firm with determination. "People need to know what's happening, the truth behind the abductions, and the real intentions of the Nexusars." Emma nodded, her mind racing with the implications of their task. "But how do we get this information out? The Nexusars have influence and power that extend into the highest levels of governments. Exposing them won't be easy." Deep Sky pulled up a series of files on a laptop, showing a network of contacts, safe channels, and potential allies. "We leak the information through multiple sources, make it impossible for them to contain. We use every platform available to us, every contact who can help. It's a risk, but it's the only way to ensure the truth gets out." Emma looked at the files, a sense of purpose building within her. The story she had been chasing was much larger than she had ever imagined. It was no longer just about exposing corruption or a government program. It was about revealing a global threat and rallying the world to action.